Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here in Western Canada. I hope everybody had a good week and I hope you're all off to a good start on your weekends. Welcome Anna, Hai Fuang, Anahita, Elizabeth, Carolina. Nice to see so many of you in the class. This lesson is an IELTS Task 1. It's going to be a table, which we don't see so often, but definitely it can come up on your academic IELTS exam. And this table will show a comparison of various subway systems in some major cities in the world. Let's take a quick peek at that table now, just so you can start thinking about the question and about this table. Start thinking about the English. This is the IELTS Task 1 question of the day. Read it with me, everybody. IELTS Task 1 writing. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. Of course, as many of you know, the writing section has two tasks, Task 1, Task 2. Task 1 is 20 minutes, Task 2 is 40 minutes. The following chart shows data on underground railway systems in several major cities. Summarize the information, report the main features, and make comparisons where relevant. Now, of course, an underground railway system is a subway, also known as a metro system. So here we have the table. All right, so we've got 4 columns to the table. These are each called columns going down like this. And we have the titles here. In column 1, we have the cities. We have London, Paris, Tokyo, Washington, D.C., Kyoto, and Los Angeles. In the second column, we have the date that they were opened. London being the earliest, 1863, then 1900, 1927, 76, 81, and Los Angeles, 2001, in the new millennium. You can kind of see that this one's chronological order, which is nice. And then we have the kilometers of route. So the amount of kilometers that they stretch, and we've got that. And then the passengers per year in millions in the final column. Okay, so start thinking about that, members. Everybody, this is a members chat class, and to join the chat you have to be a YouTube channel member. There are 4 levels of membership, and you should see a join button next to the subscribe button on the channel. Now, this lesson, as usual, is presented to you by aehelp.com. For academic IELTS, visit us there. For general IELTS, visit us at gieltshelp.com. These are the websites that power these live classes. They contain all of our materials. This is our academic IELTS website here. You can join the premium version by clicking the big red button after you go to aehelp.com. And once you click on that button and then you complete the payment form, you can use the code 4R9YU for an extra 10% discount during checkout. Price is different in different countries. We try to make it as affordable as possible. We want to help as many students as possible. Again, it is a one-time payment. Then you go to your My Student account. In your My Student account, you have computer-based practice exams, a full online interactive course. In this interactive course, you have Task 1 writing. In the Task 1 writing, you have a description of all of the different types of Task 1 questions that you could get. Basically, the course lists 6 types: bar graphs, line graphs, pie charts, and of course tables. What we're working on right now And there's a lot of good associated vocabulary. So again, columns go down like this, rows go across like that. Okay. Now, as you progress in the course, you will see that each of these has a special function. Okay. So, for tables, you have some important vocabulary and some quizzes in the course. Again, students, those of you who already have access to these, make sure you go through these. Okay, so there are sample essays and so on. In this case, you have one here. Okay, for tables, so that's where you want to be. Use the course. All right, for general IELTS students, we have a website for you. It's gieltshelp.com. It's the green background, and your task 1 is different from academic. Your task 1 is usually a letter or an email that you have to write to a friend, a colleague, some establishment like a restaurant or a business. So it's different. It's a narrative. So make sure that you're familiar with the right kind of task 1 writing that you will see in your test. Okay. General IELTS students, it's different. All right, today, for those of you who have premium access on the website, I will send you the Zoom links for Sunday's premium exclusive class and for Wednesday's premium exclusive class. So if you don't see that link within the next 24 hours, premium students, please send me an email and I will check your account, and then I will send you the link to your premium exclusive class. That should be in your inbox within the next 24 hours. Okay. All right. Also, premium students, here's your playlist for the past premium classes. Okay, check there for the classes we had in the last last 6 weeks, I think, or 5 weeks. Okay. All right. Okay, everybody, apps, yes, of course, you can go to your app store, search for Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help. The apps are similar to the websites. They have a lot of the same content. That's so that you can learn on the go, and you can link the apps to the websites. Instagram is IELTS_AE Help or GIELTS Help. We had 10,000 new followers join our IELTS_AE Help account last month, which is kind of cool. Shopify is another way to get access to all of these great materials. You can use this URL, and in the YouTube here, you can look at the store and access the courses through the YouTube channel. So if you're into video editing, anybody, and you know how to use some video editing software like Adobe Premiere or Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve especially, send us your CV and you might be able to get some work with us. If you have questions, email us about IELTS, about English, Adrian@aehelp.com or admin@aehelp.com. Okay, so after this class, we'll have listening, part 1 and 2 for subscribers. Subscribing is free. It's easy, so highly recommend it. Subscribe to the channel, and you can join that chat coming up after this class in about close to 2 hours, hour and 50 minutes. Tomorrow we'll have speaking part 2 for members as usual, and then we'll have speaking part 3 for everyone. That speaking part 3 class will be on our website. That's why you have the little website logo here. So that will be on aehelp.com, and those are some fun classes as well. And then on Sunday, as I mentioned, we'll have the Zoom class for our premium users. Okay. In the meantime, everybody, lots of learning on the YouTube channel. Check out this video. This is a speaking video. It's a good video. There you go. All right. Yep, we do the free writing assessment score feedback. Anna, you can send a reminder, but you should give us 48 to 72 hours for that. and one of my colleagues should have that back to you shortly. I'll follow up with them on that. Yeah, you should have that soon. Okay, so back to the question. Let's look at it one more time. Hopefully, many of you, especially if you are familiar with the information that I often talk about at the start of, or almost always talk about at the start of these classes, hopefully you were already thinking about this IELTS Task 1 question and how to write it. So here, let's look at this question one more time. IELTS Task 1 writing, you should spend about 20 minutes on this task. Don't spend more than 20 minutes, everybody. It's really important that you save 40 minutes for task 2. It's more challenging, it's longer, it's worth more. So 20 minutes on task 1, but do a good job on task 1, okay? So one more time, the following chart shows data on underground railway systems in several major cities. Summarize the information, report the main features, make comparisons where relevant. Okay, let's do it. Let's write about this. So here there are 3 paragraphs to task 1. Paragraph 1, okay, so task 1, 3 paragraphs. Introduction. This is how IELTS likes to see it, okay? So introduction plus overview plus analyses. All right, the introduction is a paraphrase of the question with more details using the graph. So here it says the following chart shows data. So this table containing 4 columns and 7 rows gives information on metro systems in 6 major cities. Oh, by the way, while I'm doing this, you should do the same. So paraphrase and add details. Don't let me run ahead of you. So especially students that know what you're supposed to be doing. There are lots of different ways to write this introduction. So what am I doing? I'm basically looking at the question. The questions are often a little bit vague, so they don't tell you how many cities or what cities. They don't tell you what kind of data we have here. So here we have 4 variables, right? We have variable 1, the city. These are called variables. Variables are what can change. It's like saying changeables, but we don't say changeables. We say variables. Okay, in statistics. So these are variables, and we've got 4 of them. We've got the city. We've got the date of inauguration. There's a fancy word, inauguration. The date of inauguration is the date that it opened. Okay. The kilometers of route, so basically the distance that the railway is built or established, okay? And then we've got the passengers here per year in millions. So it's 775 million passengers per year. Paris has 1,191, so it's 1.1, almost 1.2 billion. Tokyo has nearly 2 billion passengers. Washington D.C. 144 million. Kyoto 45 million. So these are the passengers. So that's the 4 variables, right? And then we've got the 6 cities: London, Paris, Tokyo, Washington D.C., Kyoto, and Los Angeles. Okay, so those are the variables. Don't worry about making comparisons yet. Don't worry about the overview yet. That will come after. Okay. And I really hope all of our beautiful, wonderful, awesome members, Gazi, Elizabeth, Hannah, I hope you're all busy typing and writing these introductions. I'd love to see them. Anahita, good for you. You get a thumbs up. You're the first one to post. Okay, so I'm going to now continue with mine, and then we'll compare as we dare. The saying goes. Okay, so this table containing 4 columns and 7 rows gives information on metro systems in 6 major cities and explains the date of inauguration, the distance of tracks, and the number of passengers per annum. All right, now I didn't list the 6 major cities here, so I didn't write London, Paris, Tokyo. I'm pretty sure that's okay. I'm going to obviously list those a little bit later on. And now for the overview. Okay, so this is the introduction. Let me just grab the introduction and I'll just plop it in right here. By the way, if you hear me using some interesting words and vocabulary while I speak, make sure to catch it. Did everybody catch me say I'll plop it in? It's common to say it like this. I will plop it in. Kind of means like I'll drop it or I'll move it below. Okay. All right, now before I get to the overview, let's take a look at what Anahita has here. If anybody's a little bit slower and you're still working on the introduction while I'm working on the overview, that is absolutely okay. All right, we're not in a race here. Although you do have 20 minutes to write this task 1. Okay. Anahita writes, the spreadsheet, I love that word, spreadsheet. It is a spreadsheet. That's good. The spreadsheet depicts information. And students, please don't write words like below or on the paper. That's really weird. Okay. It's like, yeah, okay, it's on the paper or it's on the computer screen. And it's below, but it's not below me. I don't see it there. Okay, so don't write the location of graphs into an essay. That's weird. The spreadsheet depicts information about the subterranean transit network in London, Tokyo, Kyoto, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and Paris. There are 4 columns and 4 rows. There are 4 columns for sure. There are 7 rows. Okay. And then Anahita, we need to finish this. That provide data on the date these systems opened, the kilometers of route, and the number of, instead of passengers, we could use commuters, right? Because they're commuting. They're going somewhere to work, to school, to have fun, to get to the airport, to visit grandma, right? So they're commuters. They commute. All right. Anahita says the date of inauguration onward is already included in the given information, so I think we do not need to include them. I'm not, yeah, I mean, Anahita, it depends how you write this, but I would introduce that. I would introduce, so when I have a table for task 1, I think it's a really good idea to include the column titles in the introduction. That gives a lot of clarity, okay? When you're thinking about the introduction, you should think in such a way that the reader can visualize the table more or less without actually looking at it. So when you read my introduction, you can kind of see this table. You don't see this data, but you do see in some order or some context the layout of the table and these titles, right? And that's kind of the right idea for the introduction. That's what you should be going for. Okay. All right, Ghazi, let's see what you have for us today. Ghazi writes, the table illustrates info. Yeah, it's good, Ghazi. I wouldn't abbreviate information in the start of the essay. So I would write the table illustrates information. Maybe you're just doing that for YouTube so you can fit a little bit more. But anyway, the table illustrates information about the tube systems in 7 countries and includes dates for opening those systems, distances, and number of travelers per year. Nice. Okay, Ghazi, I like it. I liked how you condensed that. I like the grammar. Again, I would just write the whole word information here, but overall I like it. I think it's great. Okay, so now we want to look at the overview. Okay, so we've looked at the introduction. Now we look at the overview. Okay, the overview is the main information that can be observed at a glance without going into too much detail. Okay, just general kind of information. All right, so let's do that. What do we see? So what is the most observable information here? List it for me, everybody. What can we see? So, of course, the proper way to do this is from left to right. Okay, and we're going from top down. Okay, so what do we see? Well, we see a couple of European cities here. We see an Asian city here. We see a North American city here. We see another Asian city here, to be more specific, Japan, right? And then we see another city from, so we've got 2 cities from the US. We've got 2 cities from Japan, right? And we've got 2 cities from Western Europe. Okay, everybody sees that? So we're going left to right, top to down. Now, this doesn't mean that we're going to write all this. We might not write all of this like, oh, 2 cities are Japan, 2 cities are the US. So we might write that. We might not write that. Okay, I don't know. We'll think about that. But we're observing that. We're looking at that. Everybody's good so far? Yes? So always go left to right, top to down. It's very important. Okay, a really common mistake by people everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're a native or non-native English speaker. A lot of people will go, ooh, I'm looking at passengers. Ooh, I'm looking at this big number here. Ooh, I'm going to jump to here. Ooh, I'm going to jump to here. Oop, now I'm up here. And I'm like, and it looks like a crazy game of StarCraft or Asteroids if you're really old school. Well, if you do that, so if your eyes are going in that direction, that's kind of what your essay will look like too. And your reader's going to go, huh? So, ha, right? That's the big problem. Right there, ha's giving us this this problem right now. Ha is saying Tokyo has the most passengers. So ha literally just jumped right over here. Boom. It's like, wow, really? Why? Why are you all the way over there already? What about the date it opened? What about the kilometers? How did we get here so quickly? Ha. Okay, don't do that. We don't care that Tokyo has the most passengers. I don't care about that right now. Okay? Doesn't matter to me. That's not the most interesting. Paris also has a lot of passengers. Okay? So, before I do that, right, for the overview, again, everybody, left to right, top, down. That's how we process information. Okay? Not middle of the right of the screen. Oh, Tokyo has the most. Okay? So we don't care about that right now. Nobody cares about that. All right? Not yet. All right? Okay, so now that we looked at the cities, where they're located, okay, now I look at the date that it opened. And a table like this, 20 minutes, lots of time. It's not too much. Okay, so the date that it opened. We've got 1863, we've got 1900, 1927. Okay, so I can see that these are the earliest dates, right? And we're jumping back like 150 or 60 years here, right? And then we've got 1976, 81, and 2001. So these ones are a little bit newer. Okay. Yeah, and Valia is starting to think critically here. Valia says the latest metros or newer metro systems tend to have shorter routes as well, as we can see. They just haven't had as much time, right? So we could say that we've got kind of 3 older systems, and we've got 3 systems that are relatively newer. So they're after the middle of the 20th century, right? Okay, and these are even before. So this one here is 19th century. So these are old systems, right? So pre-1950s, post-1950s, right? This is some good critical thinking. IELTS examiners love to see good writing, original writing for task 1. When they see a template, listen up carefully. I want to make sure that you're hearing this. When the examiner sees a template, like they see something like, overall, Tokyo had the most passengers, they're thinking band 6, even if you have perfect English, because when they read 20 essays and 19 of them start the overview with Tokyo had the most passengers, it's going to be that one that says, looking at this table, it is clear that 3 of these metro systems are older, pre-1950s, while 3 are more modern, post-1950s. The examiner, when they read that, they're going to be like, oh, wow, this person not only speaks English, but they have great critical thinking and obviously good analytic thinking. They must be a master's or a doctorate student. Okay, everybody got that, right? So not this. Start with this. All right, and this is chronological. Yes, exactly, this is chronological order. That's very important, and that's nice vocabulary. That's what you want to focus on, is the chronological order. Okay, now the kilometers of route, the oldest is the longest, and then as we get into more modern systems, they become shorter and shorter, right? These two are a little bit inverse, but that's not important. It's much more important to see that the oldest one has the longest route, and then so on, right? So they're in chronological order, and the distance seems to become shorter the more modern they are. Okay, now the number of passengers tends to vary, right? So there's a bit of fluctuation or variability, but we can see that the older routes have more passengers than the newer routes by a lot, right? So that's what's most important, okay? It's much, much better writing than simply just saying Tokyo has the most, okay? So we've got the cities from Europe to Asia to North America. We've got a chronological order of routes, 3 older ones, 3 newer ones. We've got the distance that matches roughly with the age, older, longer, newer, shorter. And we've got the passengers that seem to vary, but clearly there are significantly more passengers on the older routes. Everybody got that, right? Let's write that overview, because that overview is going to become the basis, the foundation for our essay. So everybody that's tuning in, again, do be aware that a lot of what I'm saying here to you is found in your premium IELTS package at aehelp.com, where a big goal of the package is to teach you the right way to think about the IELTS exam, these questions, so that you can get those higher scores. So definitely click the join now button so that you can learn this for both IELTS and for university. Okay, and for those of you who have it, go through task 1 writing. Okay, all right, so the overview. I'm going to write the overview, and then thanks, Carolina. Carolina just put the link in the chat there too. So I'm going to write the overview, and then you do the same. And the words don't matter as much. It doesn't have to be perfectly the same. It just has to be a good overview. Okay. So overall, this table gives data on metro systems in 2 European countries, England and France, 2 systems in Japan, Tokyo and Kyoto, and 2 routes in the US, Washington, DC, and Los Angeles. The cities are organized chronologically, starting with the oldest route in London, and the newest, Los Angeles. Three systems are mid 20th century, while 3 are more modern and post 1950s. Okay, now again, everybody keep in mind that I'm writing for you here at the band 8, band 9 level, just so you can kind of see how advanced your overview really can be. And I know some people at this point might be thinking, well, I thought the overview is supposed to be short. There is no rule like that, okay? There is no rule in IELTS that your introduction has to be short or your overview has to be short. It really just matters on what you're putting in there, okay? So the distance of these tube systems, or of these tube networks, is correlated. This is a nice vocabulary here. This is also mentioned in your premium course, using the vocabulary for correlation. Statistics, whether it's pie charts or bar graphs or line graphs, the word correlated is very important. And if I wanted to be really fancy here, I could say the distance of these tube networks are positively correlated to their age, as are the number of passengers. Okay, so this would be my overview here. Okay, correlated means they're connected, so I'm basically saying that they're tied here. Okay. And if some of you are like thinking, wow, really, I have to have this kind of writing for good band scores on the IELTS? The answer is yes. If you're using the template writing that you learn in a lot of those online courses or a lot of those videos, you're going to struggle to get those higher band scores. IELTS examiners want to see academic, high school, college, university level writing for high scores. Okay, IELTS again is not just an English as a second language test, especially not the academic. That's why it's called the academic IELTS. It's not just called IELTS, it's called academic IELTS, right? They're looking for academic writing, okay, in English, all right? Okay, so this is what this looks like, the overview. Let me put this after the introduction, and then I'll read it for you together with the introduction, so you start to get a really good idea of what a high band essay reads like, okay? So this table containing 4 columns and 7 rows gives information on metro systems in 6 major cities and explains the date of inauguration, the distance of tracks, and the number of passengers per annum. Overall, this table gives data on metro systems in 2 European countries, England and France, 2 systems in Japan, Tokyo and Kyoto, and 2 routes in the US, Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles. The cities are organized chronologically, starting with the oldest route in London and the newest, Los Angeles. 3 systems are pre-mid 20th century, while 3 are more modern and post-1950s. The distance of these tube networks is positively, because it's distance, singular, is positively correlated to their age, as are the number of passengers. Okay? That's your Band 9 writing so far. Now, you can write it in different ways. You might have a little bit of a shorter overview. Some of this information, many of you may decide to put into the analyses, or even some of it in the end in a kind of short summary, and that's okay. What's most important is that you have this kind of information, that you have this kind of analysis, okay? Ghazi, your continued support is always appreciated. Thank you. You see Carolina even giving you a shout out there. I appreciate your super chat donation. And there's that little human there drinking some kind of a coffee cup or something. So I'm going to cheers you on that, Ghazi, and have a sip of my cup of Joe here as well. Okay. Now, of course, if you're only going for a Band 6 or a Band 7, you might not need to complicate your writing this much. But if you're going for those higher band scores, Band 7, 8, 9, then it is a good idea to think about it in this way. All right, now, when you have a good overview, the nice part of that is that it literally outlines your essay, okay? So here, we see the cities are organized chronologically, starting with the oldest route in London and the newest in Los Angeles. The 3 systems are pre-mid 20th century, while 3 are more modern and post-1950s. Okay, so now all I have to really do is just give the data, and I have to be careful, make sure that you look at the time. I have to give the data here, and so I'm going to just follow this system, and in this table, definitely shortest longest, or starting with shortest longest, probably not the best approach. Here I would actually just start with like the earliest metro system. Okay, so the oldest metro system opened in London, which also has the longest kilometers of route. Okay, that's what I would start with. So this would be my number 1. Students, it's really, really important that when you're doing IELTS Task 1, you identify your points of comparison before you start writing. This is what you should use your note paper for in the computer-based test, and this is what you should use your notes for in the paper-based test. Okay. My second point. What should be my second point? What would you write as your second point? Anahita, you will have time for the analyses because the analyses in this case might be a little bit shorter, as you will discover. Okay, since the overview covers a lot of the content, you don't. So it's not like Anahita. There's no rule that you have to have a short overview and a long analysis. You might have a short introduction, a fairly long overview, and a relatively short analysis, as you'll see in this case. And it's totally fine as long as you have a good essay. Okay. What's my second point? All right. Remember, for band 7, 8, 9, you should be aiming for about 180 to 220 words. Okay. Valia says, compare it to the newest, maybe. I know I wouldn't compare it to the newest. So I wouldn't, Valia, I wouldn't suddenly jump down here. I wouldn't do that. Okay. I think there's a better way to go than to just jump around oldest to newest, longest to shortest. I think if I jump around here, yeah. So Ha says maybe talk about Paris because you state 2 European countries. I would use the chronology here. Okay. All right. So what I would probably do here is I would say, okay, the 2 other oldest routes, because remember what I said, that 3 of these are pre-1950s, 3 of them are post-1950s. I would mention the 2 other ones. So I would say that the 2 other old routes also have a lot of distance, okay? And I might not get into specific numbers here. And then over 1 billion passengers. And I might mention here that Tokyo has nearly 2 billion, with Tokyo having nearly 2 billion, right? So that would be my number 2. Okay? Everybody sees that? And then what would be my number 3 here? So what would be my number 3? Let me pick a different color while we're doing that. I'll do, let's do purple. No, let's do yellow. Orange? Orange. Let's go orange. Redexar says fewest kilometers in Kyoto and Los Angeles. Yeah, the way I would think about it here is I would actually group all 3 of these. Okay. And then I would emphasize within this point. Well, let me pick a different color for that. Let me do purple. So I would do maybe yellow, brown, black. I would do this one as the newest, this one as the shortest, and this one as maybe the fewest passengers. Very comparable to Los Angeles though. Okay, so and let me finish this. I didn't quite finish that. Okay, so I would kind of do that. Okay, so this would be my 3, and then these would be kind of my 0.4s here with the black. 4, 4, 4. You could see that as 4, 5, 6, but yeah, we can do 4, 5, 6. That's how I would do it. Now again, students, just to be clear, it doesn't mean that this is the only right path, right? However, as I'm sure we'll all agree, this is an expository essay. Okay, and I think a lot of you know that. Task 1 is an expository essay. Expository essay, if you don't know what that means, you need to look it up. Expository essay means that it explains information. What do you think is one of the most important elements of an expository essay? So when you have a good expository, so when your professor or when your teacher says that's a good expository essay, what do you think they're basing that judgment on? So this is a really important question, everybody. Okay, so keep this in mind. IELTS Task 1 is an expository essay. The goal is to explain and expose and explain information. Okay, hence expository essay. When the examiner, teacher, professor states, "That's a great expository essay," what is one key criteria for this compliment? Valia says they can visualize the information given. Yeah, that's a good answer, Valia. Yeah, so they can easily and accurately visualize the information in a structured way. Okay, so that's what you're going for. Absolutely. Okay. As long as you can do, and there's different ways to do that. So again, I'm not telling you that my way is the only way. There are different ways to do that. Just make sure that you do that. In this case, in this table, if you're jumping around most to least, least to most, longest to shortest, the reader might kind of be like, what's going on? Right? Head explosion. Okay, so you want to give structure here. That's why you have a table, right? So a table in itself is structure. You've got your rows and your columns. The person who made this table obviously considered structure when they put these dates chronologically, right? They realized that that is a key element to structuring this data or this information. So if you start to jump around in your analyses, then all you're really doing is you're breaking that structure. Okay, don't break the structure. All right. Okay, so let me do this. The oldest. So I'm just writing here, and you can write with me. Okay, everybody. So you can write the analysis with me. The oldest metro line. The oldest metro lines, and also the longest at 394 kilometers of route, were established in London in 1867, I believe it was. Okay. All right. 1863. Don't make mistakes with data. Okay. 1863. Shortly after, underground railways were built in Paris and then Tokyo. Both of which today boast over 150 kilometers of route and carry over 1 billion passengers each, with Tokyo transporting nearly 2 billion commuters every year. Okay, so see here, Anahita, that because I have a clear idea, and I could write this with simpler sentences as well. But notice how, like, I'm really, like, moving quickly through the analyses here. Okay. The three, now watch my shift to the 3 newer systems. Okay. The more modern subways have much shorter routes. Kyoto being the shortest at just 11 kilometers, and carry significantly less passengers. Again, Kyoto with the fewest travelers at just, with only 45 million riders per year. Notice all the paraphrasing there as well. With only 45 million riders, people who ride the metro are called riders, like a horse rider. Okay. Okay. Now, if I want, I'm basically done. Okay. If I want to be really fancy, I could do a summary. I could say, in summary, the newer routes are shorter and logically carry less people per year. Okay, so I could do that, and then let's see, how many words do I have? That's perfect. 216. Okay. So it's a perfect length for a Band 9 essay. 216. The minimum is 150 students, but that's the absolute minimum. And if you talk to IELTS examiners, they will tell you that they basically never give out grade scores to essays that are just the absolute minimum. Okay, if you write less than the minimum, then you actually start losing scores for not writing enough. So 216 words, Band 9. And yes, I could write some other information, like Los Angeles has the most modern metro system built post 2000. So you can include other details like that, but it's not so important. The summary, Anahita, is a little bit different than the overview. The overview says that there's a positive correlation. The summary explains that positive correlation. But I could leave the summary out too. So if I don't have the summary, then my word count is still pretty good. And I could leave it out. So it's 202 in this way. Okay. I like to have a little summary. It kind of adds that emphasis to the end. Here we go, everyone. So for those who are just kind of joining in late, let's take a look here. IELTS Task 1 Writing. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The following chart shows data on underground railway systems in several major cities. Summarize the information, report the main features, make comparisons where relevant. Here we go. Let's take a look. This table, containing 4 columns and 7 rows, gives information on metro systems in 6 major cities and explains the date of inauguration, the distance of tracks, and the number of passengers per annum. Overall, I like at first glance on this one, so I'm going to change that. I think at first glance is a little bit better. It's kind of like what we see when we look at it at first. At first glance, this table gives data on metro systems in 2 European countries. England and France, 2 systems in Japan, Tokyo and Kyoto, and 2 routes in the US, Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles. The cities are organized chronologically, starting with the oldest route in London and the newest, Los Angeles. And if I really wanted to, and I have time to review, I could write in 2001 here. Okay, 3 systems are pre-mid 20th century, while 3 are more modern and post-1950s. The distance of these tube networks is positively correlated to their age, as are the number of passengers. So I think this is the sentence here, Anahita, that you're talking about. Now, it's not the exact same sentence. This is a paraphrase here at the end, right? The oldest metro lines and the longest, at 394 kilometers of route, were established in London in 1863. Shortly after, underground railways were built in Paris and then Tokyo, both of which, maybe not shortly after, there's probably a better way to write that, I would say in a few decades after. It's more accurate. Underground railways were built in Paris and then Tokyo, both of which today boast means like they showcase, over 150 kilometers of route and carry over 1 billion passengers each, with Tokyo, not Tokyo, Tokyo, transporting nearly 2 billion commuters every year. The more modern subways have much shorter routes, Kyoto being the shortest at just 11 kilometers, and carry significantly less passengers. Again, Kyoto with the fewest travelers, with only 45 million riders per year. In summary, the newer routes are shorter and logically carry less people per year. I would say per annum, and then that's it. Okay? All right. Fong, I love how you jumped in there and wrote this sentence. Great. Fong says, in more detail. Not details, just detail. I know it sounds like you'd want to do a plural there, Fong, but you don't. You want to just keep it detail. In more detail, London was not only the oldest underground system, but also the longest tube with, you don't need to say then others, because longest and oldest, we know it's more than the others. So, but also the longest tube with 394 kilometers of route after it opened. Not after, but I would say since. After means that they had all those routes like right when they opened, after they opened. It's a little bit confusing, but if you put since, it sounds more like over the span of time until now. Since it opened in 1863. Now we have a nice clean sentence here. Okay. Good, Fong. Ha writes, London not only owns, they still own it. Hopefully, nobody took it from them. Okay, so careful with your tenses. Okay, if it's general, it's still true now. You have to use the present tense. So London not only owns the oldest railway system, which is okay here, which opened in 1863, but also achieved the longest route at nearly 400 kilometers. I love the interpretation here. That is fantastic. It is. It's so close, right? It's it's just 6 kilometers shy of 400. So good. Interpretation gets you points, everybody. The interpretation that Ha is using here is very, very similar to this interpretation that I'm using here. Tokyo's transporting nearly 2 billion commuters, right? Because 1,928 million is just 72 million shy of 2 billion. Big numbers, but close enough. So interpretation is super important for great band scores. So that was really good. I like it. Okay. All right. Good. This is what I mean, right, students? If you write, I can give you more information, more content, right? Okay. So keep this in mind. Good interpretation gets good scores, but don't assume. Like, you can't say something like there are more people living in Tokyo than Paris, so that's why there are more people riding the metro. You can't say that, right? We don't know that, so you can't make assumptions like that. Okay. All right. Nice. Students, write your essays, okay? Send your essays for that free band score estimate that Anna was talking about to my email, adrian@aehelp.com or admin@aehelp.com. In exactly 1 hour, I will be hosting a listening class here on the channel. So during that 1 hour, you can check out some videos on YouTube here. You can check out our websites, aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS, everyone. Sign up for the premium version. If you've got a few bucks and you've got a few minutes, click that big join now button that's just right above my head there. And it's right up there. And join, check it out. Read through the other types of task ones, what you should do for a line graph, bar chart, pie graph. And practice lots. There's a lot of great English. You can interact with other students. You might be able to find a speaking partner at this time too, since there are a lot of you watching. You can practice your speaking through the speaking partner interview. Carolina, thanks for checking in with us and moderating. Anita's asking, how many scores is task 1 worth from 9? It's considered 1/3 of your writing score, but it's not a solid rule. If task 1 is really terribly written, it could drag down your score more. Okay, it depends on how the examiner looks at it. If the examiner sees that you really didn't put an effort into task 1, you spent all your time on task 2, they can drop you below a band 6. So if somebody does like a perfect job, Anahita, on task 2, but they don't write task 1, it's not like you're going to get a band 6. They might just give you a band 5. Okay. All right. But task 2 is worth more. Okay, everybody. That's it for this class. Again, practice, review. Visit us on our websites, grab the apps from your app stores, link them to the websites, use the premium versions, get the link for the premium member live class on Zoom, and I will see you in 57 minutes for some listening. We'll be using our website for the listening audio and listening exam as well. Much love to all of you. Bye for now, and see you soon.